And what is going on, everyone? And welcome to Sith Happens Star Wars podcast. Got that playing again. If you have just found us, that means you have been looking in all around places. Anyways, we have a very special episode planned today. I am joined by the two scruffiest. You like that one?
Yeah, I like that. It was very catchy.
Yeah, it was good. I was like, I don't even know if I can top that with my pun. Yeah.
Drooby,
Anyways,
like the Millennium.
I'm joined by the two scruffiest of the nerf herders that there are, and the slimiest of the Gundarts. It is my boy Matty Ice and Ant.
Hey, what up? How are you guys doing?
How are you guys doing? Sorry, our in-studio producer, my wife, said there might be an audio issue, so she was just waving me down.
Hey, you sound wonderful to me,
I am
my friend.
Matty Ice, otherwise known as Black Series Daily Desk, and I am stoked to be here with my favorite two Minox, and it's going to be a very exciting show.
Yes, it is.
I always seem to forget to mention, I guess, I am Not a Committee on Instagram. So go ahead and check me out there too. I'm doing fantastic as well. Pumped for what I feel like might be a pretty darn good show tonight. So it's been a minute. So I'm pumped to talk some Star Wars with you guys.
I've got a good feeling about this.
Ooh, yes, and now before we get into it, everyone, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the channel. We appreciate all you guys following us. But now, well, guys, now the reason that this episode is so special is we have a very special guest with us. You may not immediately recognize his face, but he has voiced some of our favorite characters in Star Wars shows and games, such as Star Wars Squadrons, The Bad Batch, and Jedi Survivor. He has done a plethora of work on other projects, and well, is truthfully, quite honestly, an amazing guy. Everyone, please welcome to the show, Noshir Dalal. How you doing, big guy?
Nosh!
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Nice to hang with y'all. This is awesome.
That was like wrestling intro music.
That music was no joke. I was like, whoa.
That's what you call royalty free. That was called royalty free Star Wars music.
One note off, and you're good.
That's awesome.
I love it.
The internet said it was royalty free.
My God.
Anyways, Noshir, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't say how excited I am for all of us to talk today, to get into some great nerd talk that we have planned. First, before we begin, like I said, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for both Sith Happens and Noshir's channel. You can look him up. We'll go ahead and link him in the comments here in a little bit as well.
Awesome.
So, Noshir, we're going to get into some of your recent adventures in a galaxy far, far away. But before we do that, we're going to take a step back. Let's learn a little bit about you, my brother. We want to know really about your story in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away and how it first began. So we want to just ask you a couple questions, my man. Is that cool?
Yeah, man. Go for it.
All right, brother. So, the first thing I always love to ask everybody is, how were you first introduced into Star Wars? Like, how did you kind of get introduced into it?
So I think, well, the first memory I have being like super, super little was seeing the AT-AT assault on Hoth. And I think I was super little. And like the vision, the scope of that moment, like, just, I think, permanently changed my brain chemistry in a really profound way. And then, of course, like the speeder bikes blowing through Endor. I think those two moments, like, left a profound impression on me. I've always loved Star Wars. Never in my wildest dreams as a kid thought I'd be telling stories in the Star Wars universe or be a storyteller, period. But it's been a wild journey for sure.
I love that. It's funny. We've talked about it, but the first time I saw Star Wars, I was like 4, and my dad showed it to me. And I have, like, you're not fully online when like you watch that stuff. So like you're saying, the Walker is what you're thinking about. There's like very key things I remember, but I don't. And even now, like I kind of remember them, but they don't really. My memory of the original of looking at it doesn't really look quite how it looked like when I watched it later on. And it's a really interesting thing because sometimes I equate it to like the awe of being a little kid and seeing it. Like, it almost doesn't register until later. So I loved hearing that because I think it's such a fun, whenever you ask somebody about their first experience, I feel like a lot of us have that it was like, it just touched our soul. It like made us so excited. But then as time went on, I think it's sort of like, that's the legend. And then you kind of get into the scripture.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I think like it, especially if you're like a young kid when you have your first experience with Star Wars and it's like the OT, it hits you in a visceral way that like as an
oh
adult,
my God, yeah.
you'll never quite be able to appreciate, you know what I mean? Especially because it's one of the first, like, I'm pretty sure that was one of the first examples of like legit sci-fi,
Same,
you know, I'd ever had. So
not
it was
G.I.
like
Joe for me the first time, or Transformers, like legit live action sci-fi, which just makes it so special.
So wild.
It's amazing stuff, man, honestly. So now that we know what started your Star Wars journey, this is going to be, I guess this is a little contested topic because we always like talking about this. But who's your favorite character in the Star Wars universe? This could be Legends.
It can't be one of your characters.
Hey, no bullshit.
Can you imagine if I pick one of my own characters? I'd be such a douche.
Someone's favorite character because it's their favorite.
He's like, for me, it's Bode.
He's a legend. Best character ever. That's a really hard one.
We'll take a top two.
I think if I had to pick a top two, it would be Darth Vader and Han Solo.
Nice. Some of the OG.
Yeah, I like Solo. Han Solo. I think Han Solo's journey really rocks me because like a lot of those characters come from like humble beginnings, but like he has no powers. Like he's a smuggler, man. He's just trying to like find his way and like, you know, make a living in a flawed system, and then he gets pulled into this like insane crusade, you know, and I love the reluctant hero in him. I mean, Harrison Ford took dialogue that I think any
follow-up Han question. I'm going to preface with I am a huge sequels lover, so this is not a trick question at all. Okay. But how do you feel about Han in the sequels? Well, in The Force Awakens, I guess.
You're about to kill this man's DMs.
No, it's hard because I think part of it is kind of what Maddie and I were talking about. Like, for me, all of those characters have like reached like mythic status. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they're like Greek god level stuff. So like, I think the boy in me gets crushed every time I see where I see Luke and Han's journeys go, because like life has not been kind to them, and like that hurts me deeply.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, no, that's a good reaction. I think
this is a fantastic answer.
Yeah, the fantastic answer for the reaction, because I think a lot of people lash out and they go like, it's bad writing, and I don't think it's bad writing. It's the journey it was taken on. But yeah, and believe it or not, Force Awakens is like one of my favorites. Han Solo is my absolute favorite. And like him dying, of course, kicks my butt. But I do think the portrayal in it, even despite what you're saying, what I like is kind of true to Han Solo. Like they did a pretty good job there, but it's the end. You know, it's a little bit rough that I agree. Like that's how he goes out. You know what I mean? It's not really like a blaze of glory. Oh, by the way,
it is. Yes, spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
Yes,
it is what Harrison Ford wanted too. We can't forget that he basically said Han should have died already before that too. So
that's true. And he is, though. He's an epic character, and I always like to ask, and I don't want it to come off anyway because a lot of people don't like the sequels, and I'm a little bit of a rarity there, and I'm just like Rise of Skywalker, one of my top 3. So
I mean, dude, it's a great question, and I didn't see it as a trap at all. I think like as an actor and a storyteller, also a part of me loves the idea of how that rocks your conception of your concept of what you think their journey is going to be, because like it really does become that thing of like, you know, heroes should die young, you know, because like when they pass their glory, you know, that pivotal moment, the pinnacle of their greatness, like then real life comes back and like it is not necessarily kind to you.
That metal only stays shiny for so long. But, I think it's super interesting that Han's my favorite, obviously, so we're best friends now. But I think it's super interesting. So I don't play the games, but I'm a cutscene guy. So like I've watched through every entire game. Like I do the full 4-hour watch some guy that can play it perfectly deal.
Whoa.
And because Han's my favorite, guy with a blaster generally becomes like my cipher for like my, you know, I love Jedi, I love all of it, but that's my cipher. And when I was, you know, watching Survivor and your character came on, that's a guy with 2 blasters. So like immediately, we'll get into spoilers later, latched on to your character, like I don't know who you got to talk to get an action figure, but I would love a Bode action
Oh
figure. But it's
man,
crazy that's
Brother,
your
we
favorite
need that
character.
in Black Series,
Yeah,
100%.
seriously. But it's
That would
crazy
be
that's your
dope.
favorite character because my Cypher is the guy with the blasters, and that's you at the beginning of that game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's really cool to hear that for me, at least.
There's actually, so if you've seen the cutscenes, there's the scene where they approach the Luke or Hulk, right?
Yeah.
And when Bode leaves, it was written that he jetpacks off. And I was like, can I try something? And I did this nod and back tip over.
That's so cool.
And that was for me
that was iconic in there too.
That's like your coolest moment out of a lot of cool moments.
And that was for me on a bit of a love letter to Han Solo. It's like a total swagger,
so cool.
kind of
Han, Return of the Jedi. Yeah, that is so cool. I didn't even think of that. Awesome.
That's awesome.
Made my night with that one.
Well, we got a lot of people checking in on the comments too, so they're commenting even some of their favorites. So we got our guys Sabermax checking in, the ones who we really have to thank for this for getting here. So Adam, we love you, man. We got Craig checking in. No Maul, where is it? There you go. Honestly, Maul's a great character and definitely I think probably in my top 5, but Keith saying Jar Jar snubbed again. We got Christian Calcitar for
my
life.
fault, by the way.
Oh, I mean, dude, if you start going into books and stuff and all the other, the pantheon just explodes.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so I guess we'll just drop ours because my favorite character, and this is pretty widely known, it was my first cosplay from Old Republic era Darth Nihilus. I just love the concept of the character, like the fact that he, was a Jedi, got fractured in the Force, turned dark side, wounded the Force. So freaking cool, honestly. And I love that character. And I wish I'm keeping my fingers crossed they do something with the Old Republic for a series or a movie or something, man. So, and I know yours, but what is yours?
Who doesn't?
Say that again?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, yeah.
He's the best of all.
My wife's favorite too.
So
fair play.
And I'm assuming you really enjoyed the television series, the Obi-Wan series.
I did. I loved it.
Yeah. That reveal of, that Obi-Wan Darth Vader, that final moment is just heartbreaking for me.
It's devastating.
It is.
It's very sad. And if I'm pretty sure everyone in this room cried at some point watching that, and that's okay. But it was just so well done, in my opinion. Like the whole, one of my favorite scenes was the one with the stormtroopers where the water fills up in the room and Obi-Wan just barely makes it out. Like just the whole break into that.
Yeah.
I love Kenobi. I love it, and it actually kind of stems from when I was younger. We watch movies, of course, and then there's always that little lust for more, a little desire for more. So we get into the books, right? And so as a, young, maybe preteen even, I was reading it was called Jedi Apprentice, and it was all about Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan's, Master Padawan relationship. And there was 20 books.
Oh my gosh.
And they were, they were amazing books. And I remember being excited for the next. I would wait at the bookstore, ready, excited to get the next one. So that's kind of where it began for Obi-Wan for me. And I think as a result, my brother's favorite, well, I'm not saying this is why it's his favorite, but Qui-Gon is my brother's favorite. So
that tracks.
Very cool.
Just one up.
Yeah.
Ari's got it. Just one up. That tracks. Ari's one of our guests here quite frequently.
Yes.
Well, I don't think Qui-Gon's
it's almost like he's related to somebody
anymore. For the record, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I think he's met new characters that he likes now.
No piece at it. It's fact.
Back then,
All right. Well, kind of going along with characters at this point. If you had to pick your own lightsaber, whose would it be, and why that one? And I do know that you and I both got one to reveal tonight too.
Yes, we do.
Spoiler alert.
Jeez.
Well, I gotta say this. What I'm hoping to do is work with someone to build Bode's lightsaber.
Nice.
Oh my God, please.
Because I've got a whole headcanon about how all that stuff goes down, and we can nerd out about that as much or as little as you want, but
as much
I
as
think,
you want. We're getting to that character in a little bit.
I think, like, I'm so used to seeing the saber as like, you know, essentially a long sword.
Mm-hmm.
So
almost like Cal's Survivor one.
yeah, yeah. But like nowadays, like now we're getting to see some variations. Like, you know, once we started introducing like the Inquisitores and all this stuff, like they're like, oh, they're like, there's all these, and like I got to see like actually Yoda's lightsaber for me is really curious because for me, Bode starts off with a full size lightsaber, but when he spoilers, when he essentially
If you don't
becomes
know
an
by
agent,
now,
Yeah.
then you should probably go.
Yeah, not the podcast for you. I was like,
But once he begins working as an agent of the ISB and he's sent to he's assassinating Jedi, right? Then I think he's using the lightsaber equivalent of a dagger, right?
one of our
Because the way
usuals checked in. What color do you think it would be for him?
I think Bode's original lightsaber color was yellow. He would have been in
Okay.
the same
Cool.
area as
Yeah.
like the Sentinels and like
Yeah.
because I think his job working for
I love that
the
concept.
Republic,
Yeah.
for the Republic and the Jedi Council was essentially he's kind of like IAB, right? He's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
he's essentially because you've got I'm trying not to swear too much. You got D bags
swear all
like
the time.
Ton Krell out here, you know, like
You can drop
like-
it. It's okay.
Yeah.
so like when you have Jedi like Pong Krell out there who may be Jedi in name but are otherwise like pretty terrible people, like who is policing the Jedi? You know what I mean? And I think that's where characters like Bode come into play because there has to be some governance there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Sabermax checking in too that they might have your Dagon Gera one in the works.
Whoa! What? That's amazing, oh, dude! I'm
Yes.
super stoked. Adam and Nora,
I've been
I owe
talking
you
to
a
Adam
huge
about
thank
that
you.
for probably months about this point, actually. So
Sick. I love it.
All right.
I love it.
now,
Yeah, I think it's cool too. Craig said in the comments that Ahsoka backhand only, so the Shoto or Shota is what they call it, and that's kind of what Bode has. Is that like daggery short, which I kind of always think is cool with the combo. You know, you get the one broad and one, yeah.
Well, and I mean, for me, the idea, right, is if he's got the ability to mask his presence, then like in public, I bump into my target on the street. The pommel of the lightsaber is concealable in my hand. It's on, it's off. The light is kept within the body cavity of the individual. I sever nerve plexus and arterial damage. I cauterize the wound, and I go. And that dude just collapses in the middle of the street or whatever. And as far as most people know, he has a heart attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
man, you have thought this through.
I was gonna say when we get to your
That's
canon,
impressive.
I might just make you do an audiobook live. But yeah, and I think
We
also
just-
the concept.
Can we just get him in touch with Timothy Zahn or something? Like, damn.
Yeah, but I think that I like it. We're just kind of bouncing around, which I think might be okay because this is pretty conversational. But I love that concept of like Bode to me is such a nuanced character, and the way you played him was great. And I think I love that he's a part of the Jedi that you've never seen or we've never seen before. That there is this kind of like division of policing Jedi, and it's a sort of like a little bit maybe. Quinlan, there's that like he's the undercover Jedi.
Yep.
This is sort of like more echoes, like if you want to think about Rebel intelligence or something.
Yes.
Like it's a little bit more like
Right.
it's intelligence, but it's a little brute force because if you're going to police Jedi, you've got to be able to take out a Jedi, which makes
Right.
for like a very tough, determined, sort of right on the edge, almost in a little bit of the gray type of character,
Yeah.
which I think plays well with sort of your arc in it as well.
Yeah, because I mean, the way I think about it is like, if you're force adept, right, and you can't send just any other Jedi. Like the idea that you like, I forget what the name of it, the term to like suppress your essentially the ability that you can
Closed
manipulate
off,
the
I think,
force.
the force, right?
Yeah, or
Closed off,
cloak. I've heard a couple different names for it. That is I mean, you can see Palpatine clearly has that ability, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think you would need someone like that because if a Jedi knows another Force user is around, everything changes. You know what I mean? So like he can work, he can be like a minion or a laborer or whatever, you know, and just be keeping tabs on things. But also he'll have the understanding and the perception to be able to pick up on when the Force is being manipulated. Like, you know, is this Jedi using mind tricks and other manipulations to do things that are, you know, not in line with the Jedi Council and the Republic, things like that. I think it's a really cool and interesting concept.
Yeah, in the comments we had Jedi Assassin game, like a Jedi Assassin's Creed game. I was like, could you imagine if you could switch between cloaking and not cloaking? in a level.
That would be,
Like,
I
you
mean,
gotta hit the
that would be
button quick
sick.
enough. That would be really hard, but really cool.
I love
Hell
the
yeah.
idea of a game where you now have to play as Bode immediately after Order 66,
Oh, that'd be
survive being hunted, right?
Oh.
And then the turn happens, and now you are killing Jedi.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
would be-
like
Ooh.
that turn would be
That would-
bonkers. That would be nuts.
That'd be brutal,
Okay.
honestly, man. Well,
It'd be really, really hard.
Yeah,
all right,
no.
well,
it's-
go ahead, man.
We can move on.
No, I was just gonna say, I was like, so
I was-
going along with that kind of, you know, backstory there, and going with your own backstory, if you had to pick a home world for yourself, or I guess even maybe for Bode in this case, which planet do you think that would be?
Jeez, man. It's funny, like, in my, like, kind of headcanon, Bode is an orphan.
Okay.
And essentially, like, like a child that maybe came from less than ideal circumstances. And, like, especially if you're, like, on an outer rim world and you don't know much about, like, force adepts and all that sort of stuff, and you've got an infant who, when it throws tantrums, like, stuff starts exploding in the room or whatever. Like, I mean, what do you do with that? You know, and there are probably cultures where that's considered, like, you know, now you've got a kid who's quote unquote cursed, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, Bode is, which is kind of what makes it even worse, like, he is like a true believer. And I think he's a true believer because the Jedi Order has given him everything, you know, like, he came from nothing, and, like, the Jedi Order gave him everything. And so if we ever saw, like, young Bode, I mean, he is, like, about as hard line as you can imagine.
For the role that he played, that it's like, this guy is it's black and white. You're either doing it or you're not doing it, and if you're not doing it, that's where I come in. And that's really cool. I love the headcanon. Was this how you prepped for the role?
That's how I prep for every role. I find that I mean, I'm not writing down logs of what he had for breakfast last week, or, you know, weird stuff like that. But, like, and some people do, and that's fine. But,
I was gonna say, wait, is that something people do?
And you had fireworks in the room, you know, it's just like, somebody hold me.
I think for me, it's more about if I can build the narrative, emotional hooks, and the skeleton that, you know, my character, the meat of my character lives on, then all I have to do is walk in their shoes, and so much backstory is kind of built in that way. And it's not about, like, I'm getting to share a lot of this stuff for the first time with people, and I mean, like, my headcanon stuff, it goes and goes. So, like, but it also means, like, I have very clear points of view on things that most people would consider totally benign. You know what I mean? Like, because of all that backstory, when Cal says, "May the Force be with you," that's why Bode, like, almost stutters stuff. Like, he almost drops his cover because he's longed to hear that for so long. You know, like, he's so lonely that in that moment, like, it pulls at a part of him that he thought was dead. And, like, that kind of stuff, I think, for me, is the reason that backstory is so important, because I didn't have to think about it, or that wasn't, like, a clever idea in the moment. It just, like, comes out of who I've made Bode out to be.
I love that. And it's such a, like I said before, nuanced character. Because, like, you really like Bode. Like, it is, like, a little bit of a gut punch when you find out that he's truly, you know, working for the enemy. Because, you know, even him saying Cal's my best friend, when they meet his daughter, it's like, and you get it. So it makes it, like, I think you're really the big boss of the game to me. And it's funny because you didn't know we were with you, you know, the whole time. And it's a very, very cool way they did that. And it's a nice dovetail to, like, the epic Darth Vaders here of the first game. It's like, that's not personal. This is personal, and we've developed a relationship with the character very different to when you first met Darth Vader in A New Hope, where he's just this ominous being. And then you get Anakin, and you get all that later. So you never had that emotional connection at introduction, where that turn kind of happens. So I really, that was one of the second game, especially the storytelling in it is just, like, really good for me.
The writing team on Survivor, I mean, the writing team on every Star Wars property I've worked on, but, like, I don't know, like, Aaron and the rest of his writing team, their love for what they do came through in every bit of dialogue, everything they did. I owe them a tremendous amount of gratitude.
Yeah, I think I even said to Ant when I finished Survivor, because I finished it a lot later because I got a PlayStation like around Christmas last year. God, that was the first game I got for it, and this is way before you and I were talking. This is before you and I talked about doing the podcast, and I was just like, that's I think it's the best story in a Star Wars game that I have ever seen. By far, honestly.
Well, I think
I would have to agree with that. I think the only one that comes a little bit closer would be I've always said I do like the Battlefront 2.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Campaign. That's fantastic. And Squadrons, from what I've played, has been really good. I love it, but I stopped playing it for some reason. I need to finish it. But yeah, to Matt's point, like I am, and if you've watched, well, I don't know how emotional I've gotten in this. I'm sure I've cried in this podcast at some point, but I'm an emotional individual.
God knows I have.
And I did get it. Like it was more than a gut punch. I was like, as I played through that, especially like at this time, I had just like, I was within the first 6 months, I think, of my son being born. And so now I'm meeting another dad and things are going great. And then all of a sudden, no, this isn't what I thought it was. And it was, I mean, it's so good. And this is what I tell Matt. I'm like, it's good because it pulls you in on an emotional level. That's a solid, to me, that's a solid game. And the story, fantastic. I hope they make a figure for it. As you can tell, my thing is Black Series.
That's awesome.
So I really hope we get a Bode figure, and
I would love that.
That's an amazing character.
Yeah, we've all got a couple hundred of those. We've all got a couple hundred of those. Man,
I'm like the only loser here who doesn't.
Yeah, mine the other day, and he was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, it was awesome. I think like we were talking about how like for like us growing up with the OT, we kind of saw that through a child's eyes, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which I think is a lot of the reasons why you get so much polarization in like the way people react to the sequels and prequels, especially if you grew up with them, because it's kind of hit like this mythic proportion like we talked about. But I think also what I love about the games is those kids who fell in love with the OT are adults now. And now we know, like, the good guys don't shoot red lasers and the bad guys don't shoot green lasers. Like, life doesn't work that way. And in fact, like, sometimes the bad guy looks like the good guy. And I think that we're getting stories now, including, like, Andor and something, like, that we're getting stories where, like, it isn't all, it's not easy. Like, it's not good and bad, and it's not, 1 or 0. I think is so important for the story and the fandom to kind of continue, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We got a question for you in the comments, actually. Your first one from Hal Runner, who is our
Hal Runner. What's up,
Hal Runner, dude? And my wife, who helps moderate on this, are the our biggest fans. Awesome. And probably my wife first, because she sets up my computer. But a Hal Runner's question is, if you could change one thing about Bode's story, what would that be?
Like what we see in the game?
I think it could be his life story or the game.
I think it'd just be anything.
Yeah.
I'll keep it to in the game just to make it more accessible for most folks.
He's kind of written his story already.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. It'd be great. We do a what if episode every 3 months where we just have people write in. You're welcome to join. I don't know who we have to talk to, but like.
I wish he had taken the chance.
Yeah.
Tell Cal what was really happening. I very much understand why he couldn't. And I think that's a lot of people have an emotionally visceral hate for Bode because he hurts you very deeply, and that's my narratively in the game. I like the first day I sat down with the readers after having read and been traumatized by the script was, like this is my job. Like my job is to push Cal Kestis as close to the dark side as I can.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I have to lead him to despair. And in order to do that, I have to break his heart, is essentially what it has to be.
Yeah. And the hate is interesting.
Yeah, that's incredible. And let me be clear. I love I love the character, and I love one of my favorite things, whether it's a video game, a TV show, movie, whatnot, is a horrible person, a horrible character, I should say, that I absolutely love because they are done and portrayed so well. You know, like, and I'm not saying I wouldn't even classify Bode as horrible because
it's a very
that's a
empathetic
different
character. Yeah,
like I'm talking like Cersei Lannister, that kind of horrible.
Yeah,
but you get the idea. But Bode, he's wonderful,
and that's what I was gonna say. Like,
thanks,
no
man.
matter even what he did in the game and the whole story that it came through, the whole betrayal all the way up to the end fight, I was like, I cannot bring myself to dislike him. I just can't.
No.
Well, you get it. Like what you said about taking the chance. I think you very much understand through the writing, obviously, the acting, that he wants to take that chance. He can't risk what he has to lose in taking that chance. With his daughter is far too precious to do it. So he's, again, a hardliner. He's making the right choice for the people he loves and what he believes in, and that's his family. So I think that's what you gotta do. It's always surprising me when people have hate for stuff like that, because it's like, I don't know if you watched the whole thing. Did we watch the same thing? Like, there's a lot more. I get it. It really hurt when I found out. I'm with you, but you dated him before. Like, maybe give him a second shot,
Yeah, I mean, I think
sure.
if I do it right, every character teaches me something about myself. I mean, if we want to get into it later,
I think we're just doing the Bode part now, to be honest, guys. Like, I don't. Like,
well, I mean, like,
live.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I mean, it's a great time for us just to start jumping into your characters, honestly, and just breaking them down.
So, Bode came at a really important time for me. I had a long talk with my wife about this, and we agreed that it's important, and it's important to talk about. But so, like, several years before I was cast as Bode, we actually lost our first kid in
I'm sorry.
childbirth. Thank you.
Goodness.
And I used to be a very different person. I was a very, very violent, very angry guy growing up, and I've done a bunch of things that I'm not proud of. And there was a moment in the hospital where it felt like the doctors weren't there, and my wife was there. I mean, literally killing herself trying to avoid giving birth to our kid because it was just like weeks too soon. For him to have a real chance, and we weren't, like, I got to a place where for a moment I kind of slipped back to habits I thought I'd left long behind, and I really did think, like, I'm gonna start hurting people until a doctor comes. Like, I'm gonna start, and it was only in kind of realizing that if I did that, my wife would end up alone, that I didn't. And for a long time I actually carried the guilt of there was no saving my son. But I carried for a long time the guilt of, like, as a dad, did I not do, like, everything I could have? Like, everything I could have.
Yeah.
Should I have crossed that line in an effort to try to save him? And Bode, in a way, was my salvation there, because he was a great example for me of what would have happened if I had crossed that line.
Yeah.
And, that would have been a line I would not have been able to come back from.
Yeah.
And that was actually, like, I'm not here to tell anyone that, like, acting is a replacement for therapy or anything like that. And
Yeah.
But that was Bode really saved a part of my soul, and I'll always love him for that,
No, that's again, I'm sorry, but that's,
thanks, man.
The character means a lot to a lot of people, and I think, obviously, it's to hear that story, and again, like, the empathy you feel for the character, it really came through, and I'm at least glad that you were able to kind of, like, work through and understand that. But yeah, I never would have expected that. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. is really, I feel honored that you were willing to share that on the cast.
Well, it was interesting because, like, I think there was a short time, like, it became really important to me that I fight hard to make sure Bode's story was told correctly. And there was one conversation I had where, without getting too specific, one of the creatives was like, so like, Bode, like, he's got this evil in him that he's constantly trying to like, like hide, but like he's looking to like let it out. And I was like, I could not disagree with you more.
Yeah. I don't
Bode,
see that. Yeah.
Bode thinks he's doing the right thing. He thinks
Yeah.
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not a journey that happens because you are evil inherent and you want to sow discord.
Yeah.
This happens through a series of concessions. Like you make concessions to survive that cost your soul a small slice. And if you do that enough times, you end up in a place like Bode,
Yeah.
with nowhere left to go. And I think it's that was a really powerful journey for me. And the writing team didn't know when they cast me about that. And a little ways into it, I told the team about it, because I thought it was important, and the support I got from everyone, including Cameron, was really beautiful. I have a lot of love for that team.
It's amazing to hear, and I think that's it came through. Like we're saying, like and I like saying like we love Bode's my favorite in the game, like I said, and I mean like that's I think now when I watch my cutscenes, I'm a lot more behind the eyes than
we'll watch a little bit differently.
Watch that a little differently.
Yeah, I mean it is one of those things where like if you've never been in a position where you've actually had to worry about losing a child, I hope that most people never have to see that perspective, but it's I mean watching the lengths my wife, that Sharon went to try to save him was just the craziest thing. I will never ever doubt the strength of women ever in my life.
For sure. Yeah.
Well,
in line with you talking to the writers, my wife asked a question on behalf of me that I didn't know I had in the comments because she's the best. What is it like working with the writers' room? And like, what is the writers' room like with those folks?
If we're talking about for Bode, the writers are there. They're in so when you do performance capture, it's done essentially in it's like black box theater. It's a huge stage, right? Surrounded by cameras and stuff. And the writers are there for every scene you do, both to obviously make sure that you're honoring the story that's been laid out, but also, I mean, I can't tell you how many times like Aaron and Danny and Peter would like completely rewrite a moment because one of us had an idea or man, I can't. How do I do this? There's a scene that happens that when it happened, I didn't have certain information about Bode's history. And when I found out, I was like, I told the writing team, I was like, oh, but like, we just shot a scene where I did it this way. Knowing this, even if no one ever hears about it, there's no way Bode reacts that way in that moment. And they actually went back and reshot the entire scene.
That's awesome.
To do it justice for Bode, even though most people, most likely you'll never know, and I gotta keep it like that because in case maybe somewhere along the way,
Listen,
Cal finds out more.
You can swear. I was like, you have fans. I do this on Tuesdays. I can swear. So
I want to respect, the team and all the hard work they're doing.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of love these folks have for it. And also you have to remember, like, they're trying to tell a hard, gritty, like emotional human story while also it's not like they're just making an indie game. Like they have to answer to Lucasfilm and Disney and like there are huge opinions weighing in here and like I mean they're beholden to marketing and stuff, you know what I mean? So like I mean, I watched, Aaron really is a superhero in my eyes. I watched that dude navigate crazy stuff and do it with an incredible amount of grace and and his love for Star Wars throughout, was unwavering. Him and the rest of the writing team really, really crushed it.
Cool. And I love how collaborative it sounds like it was. That was awesome.
You don't always get that. The fact that, especially with the kind of pressures that they had, that they were still willing to talk about all this stuff was amazing. And also, I mean, Cameron, I have to give a huge shout out to Cameron because, like his love for and responsibility to who Cal Kestis is crazy. We would shoot a scene or we'd be talking over a scene and then he'd be like, well, Cal wouldn't do that. And they'd be like, and it would seem like something relatively benign. It'd be like, what, why? And then he'd be like, well, because in Fallen Order, in this chapter, in this scene, in this sentence, he says this, and this, which means that he actually did this, and this, which means this could not be the way this goes down. And literally, like you'd have to go, like, they have like a lore master, right, who's there to like...
It's the story group, right?
And literally it'd be like, can you check? And then they'd check and they'd be like,
told you guys
he's
that's
right.
where I work.
Yeah, so I always say, everybody's like, what's your dream job? And I'm like, story group. I just want to be there and go like, well, you can't use that bounty hunter because he's over here in the comics, but you can use this bounty hunter because he's not doing anything, but he wouldn't be holding that. And that's my dream job.
I mean, it was
just saying,
wild.
If you know anybody at Lucasfilm, you got a couple guys here who could probably fill those roles.
Yeah, I'd love to argue
I know
with
a
John
guy.
Favreau. Yeah, about
oh my god.
I gotta say, brother, just everything you just shared with us about everything from, how you brought that character into, what it's like in the writing room, really powerful. And I think you really impacted a lot of people and touched a lot of people's hearts here within the last few minutes. So
thanks, man.
Honestly, really thank you for that. And I think this actually really puts Bode in like a really new light for a lot of people. And for those of us who are fathers, particularly even in a like stronger light and stuff like that, man. So thank you so much for sharing that, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, Bode got a lot of hate when he first came out, but like I can't tell you, like, for every like 50 messages I got of like, fuck you, Bode, or like, you slap BD, which is a whole thing, which actually I want to talk about.
That's your roughest moment. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
The only one,
Yeah. You want to shoot
there's
some people?
There's a fun moment there that I want to talk about. But like, for all of that, like, I can't tell you, like, the first time I got a message from someone being like, "Hey, I'm a dad," and what I wouldn't give for my girl, and like, like, thank you for that, and like that messed me up in a wonderful way. Like,
for sure.
If I get one dad out there who's like, I totally get it. I'm okay.
Saber Max has invited you to the dad batch. I'm in the comments.
No,
grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah,
and I think that's something special
Matt.
about
We've
that.
gone over this.
Yeah, call sign ARF. I'm an ARF trooper.
Yeah.
Well, I do think it's, I think Bode was honestly probably one, if not one of your most iconic characters, and talking about him has truly been an honor. But you also have some other really great characters that we want to get into, and we're gonna stay in the video
one of my
game.
favorite.
Yes, we're gonna get to your most irredeemable character soon.
Yeah,
the one we all hate, and everybody there's no reason, no coming back from that one, bud.
I don't know about that, but no. So we're gonna get into another one of your game characters, and this is one that I particularly loved, and that character is going to be Varko Gray from Star Wars Squadrons.
Hell yeah.
Most badass trailer for a game of all time. I was watching it before that.
Yeah, it's so good. This is a great game. I really need to jump in. I'm pretty close to the end.
So this trailer, the Hunted short, was directed by, and I actually, the director that I worked with on this project, his name is Neil Lepatier, and he's brilliant. What I didn't know was that he also wrote the entire concept for the Hunted short. And so I actually reached out to him today because I was like, hey, like, I'm a huge fan of his stuff, and I was like, I'm actually hanging out with these folks for this Sith Happens podcast. Is there anything you would want to let them know?
Oh, awesome.
And what he told me was like, one of the really cool facts was the visual effects supervisor on the project was John Knoll, who's like one of ILM's
Oh yeah, I love John. We were talking about him the other day, I think.
Yeah.
Did he just do How to Train Your Dragon?
And he's he's also one of the prime architects for Rogue One, right? And and he read, I guess he read the script for Hunted and was like, I'm going to help you make this. And I mean, you can see.
So cool.
Yeah. And you can see like passion and like the love for Star Wars, but also like, I mean, they took all of these concepts that up until, I don't think they'd ever been flipped like this, you know? And like, I mean, just flipped that Disney like okayed it too was huge. It's so awesome. Huge credit to Neil for writing something really brilliant.
And such a noble kind of character, you know, like it's not, and I mean, I think the thing everybody talks about is the husband, and I thought that was such a really cool touch, and like you know, with this fan base, you know, specifically, it's a brave move, and I think it was executed in a way that like anybody who would have a problem with it, it's a personal problem. It's it's like it was,
totally.
You know, I generally think that way about most problems with that, but but like for me at least, I'm like, guys, again, sir. But like we were talking about earlier, but yeah, I just think it's such a cool, noble character, and you think about like
I want that figure. Can you give me that
I'll
figure?
take that figure.
Oh, man,
I would love that.
No, shall we just get? How do we get all figures of your characters now? That's the
you know what?
Scan is in.
Screw just getting
for the game.
Screw just getting that figure. Let's just get the whole Titan Squadron lineup because that would be amazing.
My God,
I just take a 2-pack of Bode and him. I'm not greedy. I'm just. San Diego Comic-Con.
that would be epic.
But one thing I'm gonna say about this too is like, so I'm very finicky with video games too. Is like I don't like bounce game to game a lot. Like I'll usually stick with one game. And I picked this up and I played it forever. Like the storyline on it was fantastically written because you see both aspects on it, the Imperial and the Rebellion side of it.
I really did like
that. And like the thing is like for you and your fellow actors when you were doing this acting as the Imperial Squadron, Titan Squadron, it was like this, like this feels like what you're supposed to be doing. Like this is not evil. This is, the path that you're supposed to be on type of thing. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think as for you as an actor to make us feel that way was exceptionally special because, like, you're like, yeah, let's jump with these fucking ties. Let's go.
It was really cool, really actually. So the writing team for Squadron, so EA Motive, right? Motive was the game studio that did Squadrons, and so that was Joanna Berry, Mitch Dyer, and Walt Williams, and I mean they did amazing work, and like Shen, who's played by Jim Peary, who from all kinds of games.
That voice is so iconic for him too.
Dude,
by the way.
Yeah,
and I mean like he's like that mystery, that like shadow, you know what I mean? He's so cool. Like all the characters were really interesting because they're each unique. They have their own personal flaws, but there's something in each of them that you want to champion. And I think finding that balance has got to be, I am not a writer. I can't imagine doing that job, but getting to work with that team was awesome. And we actually did.
Headcanon was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, we did motion capture for these characters, right? So like they actually had rigs for the TIE fighter cockpits. Like one of the things, and one of the things I actually talked about was like,
when you're gonna get me in one.
Did they have inner atmosphere, or was it like real life,
dude? These were like there was a lot of imagination that went into fulfilling like what this full cockpit looked like, but like they were kind of jury rigged, like, and it was purely about like making sure you hit the right things and like your joystick and stuff like that. But like one of the things we got to talk about, like I had long talks with the writing team about, I think Varco is one of the longest living.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Pilots in Titan Squadron, right? Which is how he's gotten to the rank of captain, and he's now Titan leader. Yeah. And so like when he's riding on stick, he's actually like very relaxed. So he's got one hand on the stick usually, and the other hand is just kind of like riding on his thigh. And like he's got this kind of laid back style to him until he gets into it. You know what I mean? And like those little touches, which I don't know if you ever see in the game, but it was so. The reason I love performance capture and motion capture is like human communication is 80% body language, right?
Yeah.
So like just the way Varko sits in his seat and holds his stick, like immediately tells you he's been around the block. He doesn't get surprised easy. He's not a tense guy. You know what I mean? Like he's lived this long because he knows how to flow through stress. You know what I mean? And that gave me such a great insight into who he is, that when we went and did all the VO, in-game stuff, like it was super helpful and super informative.
Again, Hal Werner checking in said, "No, please blink if you were scanned for an action figure."
Yeah, I wish.
I was
just thinking when you said that was him having his hand on the thigh and being on the stick. That is also, if you think about like a classic cowboy reference.
Yes.
When they're riding and he's got the rein and he's kind of just riding and he can go for his gun. He doesn't need to go for his gun. And it comes through. And I think that's a cool touch, just because, like I was saying, he might be in general the oldest TIE fighter pilot that's been doing this. Yeah. And like when you watch the moves and you think about them, like you see in that trailer, and for anybody, the hunted trailer for this game, for Squadron, if you have not watched it, it is probably one of the most badass dogfights you'll ever see in Star Wars, and it's beautifully, like, very, like we said, like Oscar caliber, like CGI artists, like working through it. Like we watched it right before because we were just like kind of getting psyched up.
Yeah,
I definitely recommend that to everybody. It'll blow your mind.
Well, here's a fun 100%. Moment from the trailer. The way Varko gets away from the TIE fighter, or rather, basically defeats the X-wing pilot, right? He's a former police officer.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, I read the.
And so, like, I think he has a lot more experience flying in Atmo. Than most space pilots, right? So, like, that's a trick he saw a smuggler use,
like when he was chasing
to dodge cops. And he and so from
cool.
and he takes that and he's got a huge bag of tricks, because he's been chasing criminals and like doing as a police officer for a long time. So he's also seen what fighters do who are not in the military. Right. And I think that's why he survived so long,
You're just bringing all your Han Solo stuff in, and I love it. Yeah. Never tell Nosh the odds. But so that's the
Yes. Well, Varko definitely goes down as like one of the coolest game characters there is out there.
Awesome.
But we are going to get into, I think, one of your least liked characters.
Least? What?
I don't think he's not liked. You love to hate him, would be what I would say. Because
what did I say earlier?
I think Ant should just run this portion because it's one of his favorite characters.
I have a
there we go.
There we go.
Right when he shoots somebody too, loving that. Really putting you on the spot.
He's a hugger, that Rampart.
Yeah. So the thing about Vice Admiral Rampart that I like is that we don't know his backstory. So if you could tell us, that'd be cool. But
how's your improv? Do a yes and.
Who is just what's that?
I said, how's his improv? Do a yes and.
I mean, I have backstory for him. It's not canon.
I know,
but I have backstory for him for sure.
I kind of have. So my head canon imagines that he hasn't always been all bad, and he's, for whatever reason, I think it felt to me like he probably got damaged or something, and he saw the Empire as a way to kind of lift himself back up, and maybe it twisted him, or he became twisted by it, or what have you. But eventually, somehow, he becomes who we see today. But what we did see of him on the screen, like I said earlier, like these characters that are just written and portrayed so well that I love them and what they do for the show as well.
Yeah.
Because without this character, like that, there is nothing without the character. Hey, he has to be here. But I love all the aspects and uniqueness to the character as well.
I think Jennifer and the writing team did something really, really cool with Vice Admiral Rampart.
Thanks for commenting.
Yeah.
And like the director Brad Rao, like one of the things that he said to me very, very early on was like, it's really important to us that Rampart is not one of these like, like kind of like arch villains, and I don't know, like especially in the current climate we're living in, like we have to be aware that there are Ramparts among us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's just a bad dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that Matt has said for years too, is that, there's like new Star Wars has given the Empire a lot of teeth, and it's characters like this that have done that.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. I felt like the thing I loved, well, two things I love. One is the Andor, right? You've always had meh, and now it's like you knew it was bad, but you know how bad it is. And I love that Star Wars has a place where in the same room that, Mon Mothma said, and the monster will come for us all, you also had Misa granting emergency powers to the Chancellor Palpatine. But so you have that. But the thing about Bad Batch that I think is, with Andor too, there's a lot of terrifying things going on. The way that it truly, for ostensibly a kid's show, but really, in a lot of ways not, the way that it shows you the way a totalitarian regime truly takes hold, right? Like manipulate currency, seize the news, limit transportation. This is the wrong word, but beautifully done in the sense of like not what they're doing, but really like there's a little bit in me with it that hopefully, this is obviously a lot of kids watch this. Kids and people will start to understand through some of this content and characters like Rampart and Andor and what I just, mentioned with Bad Batch, what kind of insidiousness actually looks like.
Right.
And I feel like I'm not shitting on Rampart. I love the figure. I take pictures of him on my picture page. Black Series Daily Desk, everybody.
Shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, but I think that like again, like it's interesting because there is some nuance in this character, and I think that when he gets screwed over, for me, there's a little part of me that was like, nice.
Yeah.
But then when he comes back, there's like this little part of you, and he definitely does not make us happy in the end. You're kind of happy with how he ends. There is a little part of you though where they bring him in and he's helping them and he's so arrogant that there's a little part of you that's kind of like, I don't know, maybe this will be a Rampart's redemption arc, but it's not. But you think that.
One of my favorite lines that you had in the last season, this is a captain's uniform. I was a vice admiral.
I didn't get here on looks alone.
Bad Batch is my favorite animated Star Wars show for
awesome.
Oh, it was
reasons.
Fantastic.
But the added
Clearly
element of having this. Well, I mean, you do have Tarkin, and you do have Tarkin in Bad Batch at times too. But he's like a Tarkin-like character, just like this. He walks in, and you're like, "There's it's just evil presence," and it's the element that you need for the Bad Batch, I think, because we're not dealing with, Sith per se. We're not dealing with, lightsabers. Ultimately, this show is a little bit more on the political scale as well, even though it's an animated show, maybe geared towards kids. But there has to be a villain. There has to be someone for you to grasp onto to despise.
I think Gant froze. Did anybody else?
I think he froze up a little bit. Yeah.
I lost him.
Until he.
Oh, there he goes.
There he goes.
Oh, there he's back. Okay, he froze up a little
now.
bit. Sorry.
For a second there. You want to go again?
Well, where'd I stop?
He froze again. Pretty much the whole thing, dude.
Yeah.
We got, I think, and that's all I have to say about that. And that was really like Forrest Gumpy. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. There was a lot there, but now I'm like way thrown off.
The joys of technology, everyone.
Yeah.
But
it happens.
I had a quick, we just in the picture up. I think there was a nice nuance to the performance you did with the introduction of Rampart. And I just wanted to ask a question about it because I think when you see Krennic in Andor, right, versus Krennic in Rogue One, he is next to the sheer evil of Tarkin. He comes off as like a little bit of like a weasel. And I think that like, it was a nice nuance seeing Rampart come in. And I don't know if I just projected this, so you feel free to knock me down. But there's a little nuance to like when I rewatch the series, when we first meet your character, like I think my immediate reaction was, who's this weenie? And then like basically once you don't have him physically, visibly on screen under Tarkin's leash, and maybe it's just the dichotomy of the two characters, not something you were doing, but to me it felt like he gets more evil the more that he doesn't have somebody standing over his shoulders. It's sort of like, that guy's more evil than me and he's my boss, so I'm going to stand next to him and just kind of say what I want to say. But it's like you can kind of see the shift there. And I don't know if that's something you were doing, but it's something that the second time I watched, I really picked up on.
I mean, for me, I think the cool thing about Rampart is, like, on paper, if someone was like, hey, would you like to play an evil bureaucrat? I'd be like, not really. That doesn't sound interesting at all. But he's actually, But I think that's what I love about him. He's not Thrawn. He's not this like evil savant. He's not Darth Vader. He's not like a nightmare, like in your closet. He's a politician. And like as a politician, the story I wanted to tell and like why you see him behaving differently around Tarkin is it's all about power, right? Yeah. Tarkin has power, and therefore Rampart defers to him because he can get something from Tarkin if he plays his cards right. But if you're beneath Rampart, if you have nothing to give him, you're like a piece of crap on his shoe. He could, care less. Yeah. And you see that in, the clones, Wilco, all these, you are a stone for me to step on my journey, on my ascension up the ladder. Or you are an obstacle to be removed. And that is it, Yeah.
Well, you may have killed Cody off screen. We don't know. But if you want to feel better about Rampart, you'll never be as awful as that guy that Crosshair shot in season 2. I don't know if it's a consolation when somebody says they hate Rampart, but I promise you, I liked seeing Rampart on that screen. I was glad to see that guy die. Yeah.
I was super bummed when I thought Rampart was gone after, in the middle of season 2. And so, like, I was so happy when he came back. And I love that you go from seeing a political animal who's actually quite dangerous when given the opportunity to a man completely out of his element, and like, I think season 3 really humanizes him in a wonderful way, which is what makes some people be like, man, maybe Rampart's going to have a redemption. And I'm so glad that he doesn't. Because, like, we need to see what happens when you don't learn the lesson,
Just stay bad.
Yeah.
It's a good...
He wasn't like an Agent Callus, essentially.
Yeah.
My other favorite from the animated series,
Rebels. When they wrote you out, I know you said it was a surprise and a little bit of like a bummer. So when did you find out you were coming back? Was it just kind of like, we'll let you know? Or did you
we did the scene in the Senate, and one cool little thing is like, I was following orders was not a line that was written, but like they usually let us improv some stuff. Yeah. And like, that was like, I've got to say this because like, it's for sure like the poetry of him having used that line on Crosshair and then trying to use it, I mean, essentially it's like it's like Nuremberg, right? It's like I was just doing what I was told. And it doesn't fly, and I loved that karma kind of came full around and bit him right in the ass.
Hell yeah!
What on earth was I saying?
I'd asked if you knew you were coming back.
So like, we wrapped that scene, and I thought Rampart was gone, and like, I get emotionally attached to every character I play, including a douche like Rampart. And I'm like,
that's a fun character though to play.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Totally. And like, so like, Jennifer and Lindsay Halper, who's the casting director, and Brad Rao, like so many folks that I love are on the Zoom, and I'm just like, thank you guys so much. Like, it's been really cool. And like, I wish you all the best, like, and I'm trying not to like lose my shit on Zoom in front of
So what do you guys got coming up next?
and I think it was Jennifer that was like, well,
there's
just remember Noshir. She was like, remember, no one really dies in Star Wars, And I was like, thanks. Like, and I was like, that's a nice thing to say. And then like, I think like 2 weeks before they were actually going to record me in season 3, they were like, hey, so welcome back. And I was like, what? It was.
And then you were also crying, which is
my
great.
God.
This is all around.
It was.
And then you did actually die.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
Yes,
but there was no more show. He couldn't be upset about that.
I was
there was a beard involved.
There was actually, I don't know how serious it was, but there was. I remember Jennifer and Brad talking about how there was a discussion about like, does Rampart have like does he have a redemption thing? And like, and I'm so glad that he
makes it such
went
a
out the way he did.
Show.
And that Nala Se is the one that like,
that's
awesome.
awesome.
So
that's
great.
awesome for you. And especially because like, she's one of those characters that you're like, well, I know she didn't make it to the OT. Where's this going? And like that, I mean, she was tortured by everybody about what she was doing during the Clone Wars. So really, and that's the Empire and that's the Emperor. So it's a really cool thing for your character that it's like, that's Nala Se's revenge on the Empire is killing, as you said, this politician and bureaucrat who is like what we're talking about in Andor. So I never even thought of that. I just like that it was Nala Se. So that is so cool.
It's really cool.
Something that I loved about it is, so when you think about it, Rampart's responsible for destroying her world, you know, raising Tapoka City to the ground, and she ends his.
Yeah, that's so cool. And then think about, like, if, you know,
Full
in
circle.
the face of what's going on, that is an ultimate act of final revenge and defiance, that now this technology is gone and the Emperor, although somehow he came back, the Emperor loses this technology. We're not talking about that, guys. We're talking about Noshir's career.
Yeah, and I love also that, like, you know, I think Rampart completely underestimates Nala Se.
Yeah,
and like,
like dirt on his shoe, like you said.
And like Nala Se, it turns out, is actually much more cunning and much more aware than Rampart gives her credit for, to his detriment. You know,
it's
awesome.
the arrogance. You know, she did secretly build a clone army about like 80 billion clones. So And sorry, what were you gonna say?
It was a good way to go, though. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for the character and the story, couldn't have. I mean, wise couldn't have been done better. But just for the viewer too. I mean, it's kind of satisfying.
He goes out with a bang, and I love him for it.
Literally.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, brother, I gotta tell you right now, thank you so much for getting into some of your iconic characters in Star Wars. I know you've done more. You know, just found out today you were actually in Young Jedi Adventures, which was awesome because my kids love that show.
Oh, I love it.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen that one, but if you want to tell me about your character and their backstory, I'm all in.
So, I mean, the basically the long and short of it is there's you know, Young Jedi Adventures is about these 3 Jedi Padawans, right? Like, and kind of all their kid adventures in them. There's a kid that's kind of their rival, and it turns out he's a prince, and like, you're like, you are he's such a brat, you know what I mean? And then you meet his parents, and it's like King Picor, and then his like wife, who are just the worst parents ever. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is how you end up with a brat.
Your continued theme of a nuanced, empathetic, frustrating character.
And what I love is Sharon, my wife, is Queen Daphne, and so like we are husband and wife in real life, and we're king and queen in the show.
That's so cool.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's
We
fantastic.
got royalty on the show, guys.
We knew that coming in.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Just don't make us pay royalties. Anyways, but yeah, man. Thank you so much for getting into your
question
characters
about
today.
Young Jedi Adventures, though.
Yeah.
At what age, you know, would you say a child would start to understand that show?
Oh, geez, man.
My son is almost 2, for reference, so I'm just seeing. You know, I haven't started
You're getting
him
it straight from the source,
well,
not even going to Reddit. I love it.
I mean,
I haven't started him on it yet. I've been very. He hasn't even seen anything Star Wars, and
we're actually
I'm
really,
like,
really
when
careful
he's
with
old enough to
screen
understand.
times. Like, I mean, because our kiddo is not much older than yours, and gets very little screen time. So I'm probably not the parent to ask about that. Yeah, I don't.
My kids do watch this, so maybe I am.
There you go.
Because my
I guess
so I
just
got a
as far as
5 and a 3-year-old.
understanding this is it a pretty involved story? Is it like more like a
Well, each episode is primarily
bouncing
kind of
around?
like standalone. They talk about some really, really cool things, and like you see a lot of what I love is the Young Jedi team has clearly made it really important that we work on like growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Like there are a bunch of really important lessons for kids that these Padawans are learning. And I love that they use this wonderful, you know, powerful form of storytelling that already has a huge fan base behind it to tell such like a positive message. I mean, I got a lot out of it.
Okay.
Hopefully your kid does too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to watch it myself.
So how old
It's
would you
cool.
say a grown man? No, I'm just kidding. With a child.
No, there's a lot
Your
of.
kid has never
well,
seen
I'm
anything
sure,
Star Wars.
I'm
Do you just
sure,
keep that
Nosh,
room
that
locked?
you've.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
What's that?
When you're like, your kid has never seen anything Star Wars, it's like, do you keep that room locked? Like, I just love that you're in.
No, on the television.
Yes, yes.
No, we come in here. This is his favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Lola? No, of course.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
it.
Smack that. No.
And up until recently, he called BB-8 and R2D2, I think, interchangeably beep beep. But very recently, I swear he said BB-8. I swear he said it.
I love it. That's awesome.
No, I want to watch it. I'm excited to, but I just want him to kind of understand it. It sounds like probably maybe within the next year or so, it would be maybe a good time. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm excited for it personally. A lot of, I was gonna say, in Eric, I know we've talked about it too, but a lot of these shows, and that they actually do have really good messages, which even the non-Star Wars, like, to me, I'm a huge Bluey fan. I will watch some Bluey, and it's over, man. It's 7 minutes, I think, but I'm like, all right, well, on to the next one here. But it's a good message in there.
It's brutal.
But a lot of shows are. So if it's kind of similar, and there's a good message to be had, and it's Star Wars, and you're in it, come on, what could be better?
It's a lot of
tomorrow.
Fun. It's a lot of fun.
My kid is trying to make his one cameo show by jumping in my lap. This is Hal 9000. That's no show. Typically, this is getting close to his bedtime. So he was trying to jump
biological son.
Oh my gosh! I love that Hal licked the microphone.
Yeah, I've been doing it all night. So, all right, buddy, go to mom.
My puppy's too big to fit in the booth, but I'm sure she would happily say hi.
Yeah. Well, since you just brought up toys and which one's our favorite kids, I guess this would actually be a great time for us to get into our Collector's Corner segment of the show. And I know this is particularly special because Noosh and I both got some new sabers from our friends at SaberMax to show off, actually.
SaberMax.
So, brother, you're the guest on the show tonight, man. So why don't you show us what they sent you? Because I actually am excited to see it.
So, a cool little... So, I've never owned a lightsaber before, like, not even as a kid. I'd never even had, like, the flip open ones or anything like that. And the whole reason I got these was because I just started doing conventions a little while ago. And while I was at the second convention I ever did in Saratoga, a kid cosplaying as Cal came up to me and wanted a photo with Bode. And I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And there happened to be two Star Wars cosplayers walking by who had lightsabers, and I was like, can I borrow your lightsabers for a second? And they were super cool about it. And so we got to do a face-off of like Bode versus Cal with the lightsabers, and he took a picture and and his mom showed him the picture on the phone, and his eyes were so big, you know what I mean? And I was like, that's awesome. So I decided that I was gonna buy a lightsaber so that if fans wanted to get that shot and like have a lightsaber in the shot, I would have one for them because, lightsabers are not cheap. So I went on the subreddit for lightsabers and I just asked the folks like, hey, does anyone have any suggestions on like NeoPixel versus Profi versus this and like where I should go? And I had some amazingly supportive people reach out, and one of the first people that reached out was Adam from SaberMax, and he was like, I'm going to gift you a lightsaber. And I was like, what? Like that was not, I was asking because I'm going to buy them, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he was like, no, like I think what you're doing is really cool and I love that you're doing that for the fans. So I'll give you one. And I really struggle with like gifts. So I was like, well, can I buy one so that I get two then? That way, if like the fan wants, we can get that face off shot, you know what I mean? And we'll both have lightsabers. And he was like, yeah, sure. So this is
cool.
I mean, I'm sure you guys recognize this lightsaber.
That hilt is iconic.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is
awesome.
and I love like the little details in it
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. It's beautiful. Having never had a lightsaber before, especially not like a nice one, I can't compare it to any others, but I will say the heft and the feel of it and the balance in my hand is really, really nice. So I'm
Yeah, it looks incredible.
super stoked. Yeah. And so he was like, I'll send you, I'll send you that lightsaber in addition to the one that you're buying. And I was like, oh man. And he was like, and I'm going to send you a connector so you can turn it into a double-ended staff if you want.
cool.
And he threw in the
Yes.
case and extra batteries because he knew I'd be having it at conventions and it might be on for long periods of time. Like, Adam was just awesome. Adam, if you're out there, like, thank you. And thank you for helping me make any interactions with the fans, like, that much more special. Like, it really means a lot to me. So the other lightsaber hilt, does anyone recognize this one?
Junda's. It's the
Yeah.
it's the double one.
Yeah. So
Nice.
for me, I was like, because this was the one that Adam had recommended, and I was like, how poetic that, like, potentially, I might be wielding Seer's lightsaber in a shot for the fans while they have Cal's.
Yeah.
Like, I love that idea, and also like I have met a ton of fans that relate to Seer and Marin, and like I loved that I could have like a powerful female, like iconic character from the game, and have a lightsaber that they can use. So it was super, super dope.
Yeah, talk about another great character with such a nuanced, like in the first game, like her arc.
Man.
And I watched her die before this too, because I just started watching cutscenes. So, guys, again, this is not the podcast for you. If you
That
I mean,
lightsaber though, that
That is so
sick,
cool.
too. I love when
these are
you
bonkers.
when you have the unique, the non-traditional lightsabers. Like, those are my favorite ones, and both of those. I mean, Cal's of course iconic, and I love seeing that one like just in your hand and not on a screen is a lot different. That's
I think
cool.
I'd never seen Cal's like up close, and I love how symbolic it is of like how much more sophisticated he's become.
Yes.
As a Jedi in that journey between Fallen Order and Survivor. They're both beautiful for very different reasons. It's really cool. Adam, Nor, thank you so much. SaberMax, you guys are amazing, and you're helping me make sure that the fans have a very special memory if they come by and get a photo. I'm really, really grateful to you.
And you've got folks asking about them in the comments to SaberMax, and they said thank you to you. So you might have just made a sale.
Well, good. I mean, like, I don't know. I love when the Star Wars community kind of comes out and helps each other. Like, that's one of the reasons I love this universe and the stories that are told in it. So, like, I'm a huge, huge fan and champion of the 501st. Like, I love that this has become a world that, because it's so beloved, is being used as a force for good. So you gotta support and endorse the good people out there, right? So SaberMax for sure is good people.
That's awesome.
Eric, you're on mute.
Eric, we can't hear you.
Sorry, click the wrong button. I was just
You
saying,
got all the
like,
music cues at the beginning perfect for the first time we were doing that. So carte
Forever.
blanche for the back end. Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say they are honestly some of the best,
Keep
man.
playing
They really are great out there. And for those of you who actually may be interested in learning about where you can get this saber, just to show you it, this is their website. It's called on their website, SaberMaxLightsabers.com. It's called The Resolve. It kind of shows you everything that you can do with it, the break apart, and all the variations you get. Super neopixel and the profis, blade lengths. Yeah, honestly, this is definitely one of the ones that's on my to get list. But I actually got some other stuff from them, and I'm actually stoked to show it off, to tell you the truth. So I'm gonna show them. No, because this is big. So I ordered something from them because I was like, I'm building this Darth Revan cosplay. This has been like one I've been building for a minute now, and they actually like. Because I've affiliated with them for so long and helped them out making videos and stuff because I got good with that. They're like, bro, we're going to send you some other good stuff and hook you up. So I'm actually going to take my cameras. Hopefully it doesn't look too janky. But the first thing they sent me was that right there, it's actually a saber holder. It's a 3-tiered hilt.
Oh, wow.
So it's yeah, so it's got like the Death Star panels and everything in it, and got my little Funkos
Why
in front
aren't
of
you
it.
using that for toy photos?
That
It's just like
sick.
I just got it today, so and now I'm
why
actually
aren't
going
you using
to
it for toy photos?
give me 1 second here. Hopefully this works.
ladies and
We're gonna
gentlemen,
find
Eric's
out.
bedroom.
Yeah,
I think
sorry.
I see
So
a
the desk looks a
Y-wing.
little bit mess. It's some of my Legos. But yeah, so I am gonna go
I love
ahead
it.
and move a couple of things here, because another thing that they sent me that I'm actually super excited for is this right here. It's actually a mat to work on your sabers. Let me.
Oh, very cool.
This thing looks awesome. So it's got the nice layout and everything like that. And
Beautiful.
now I got my sabers as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this open. So now I ordered the Butcher, which is the Revan saber, and they were like,
Aptly named.
yes, and like
The
I said, so
Butcher.
they. Oh, hold on a second here.
Isn't there a movie where Will
I-
Ferrell was nicknamed the Butcher?
Maybe.
Gangs of New York.
So
I
I
think.
ordered a single saber, and I think because they wanted to hook me up, they sent me 2.
What? I love
So let's open this
it.
up. Let's see what the first one is.
Wow, so you
So
haven't
this
opened
is-
this yet. This is your first.
No, this is okay. So this one's the one I ordered. This is the Butcher. So this is. If you hear any crinkling, I apologize. Like I said, I'm opening this for the first time now. I talked to Adam, and he was like, "You're gonna want to wait. Trust me." So let me.
It
let
looks
this-
so dope.
Give me a second here. I apologize. Trying to pull all this plastic off, and I don't have a what do you call it? Like pocket knife on me. All right, let's get it. Come on. There we go. Okay, getting it. That's what she said. Here we go. So this is it. So this is the Butcher. This is Revan's red Sith saber, and so this was big because I needed this for my Darth Revan cosplay. If I get a chance, I'll throw some photos up when I do the final edit for this video later on. And this one, it's not quite as recognizable as his Jedi saber, but it is like the thing that makes this really like iconic. Really, what it is this black leather hilt, leather wrapped hilt right here. It's got its hook in right here, as well as this gold and silver inlay here. And same thing as Noosh was saying, this is like heavy grade stuff. This is very durable. Let's see if I can get
Smack
this to
that
light
on
up.
something?
So if you have it in a, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
Does yours do that?
Wow. It does. Scared the heck out of me actually the first time, I'm not gonna lie.
So it's in blue right now, obviously. But yeah, so this is it. Just kind of slid it in there. It doesn't have the set screws in it right now, so I got to hold it together. But it looks fantastic,
awesome.
honestly. And you can.
Wow, nice dude.
Yes.
Effects. Honestly, so freaking cool. So
Man.
I have not read the instructions on how to completely turn it off, so hopefully I can figure it out. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good. But anyway,
That's
so
gorgeous.
Yes, that's the Butcher. And to show you guys that one as well, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up for you. You can check it out on their website right now. And so it's right here. And this is actually, it's a very well-priced saber, by the way. You can get this in the baselit, which is, it's not the NeoPixel, so it doesn't have like as many crazy effects, but you get this for only $188 in baselit, and it's a gorgeous done saber, honestly. Once again, does all the different colors. The details on these things are absolutely amazing. I am so happy to get this because this really does complete my cosplay, essentially. Because I have the, what is it? God, I'm drawing a blank on it. The Jedi Revan saber. It's just the Black Series one, so it's not quite the effects and as nice as the as these ones are. But you know what? I still got another saber I got to open here because they threw a wrench in the plan there for me. So we'll go ahead and open this up right now and see
The
what
milling
this
on
is
that
to
Revan saber is gorgeous. That is a sexy hilt.
And they sent me the Revan
The other
Jedi
one's-
save.
That is so cool. That
It's
is
oh my God.
awesome.
Holy
my
cow!
God.
You're going purple and red.
It's
This
the
is bananas.
It is the Revan's Jedi saber. So
Now, that is a cool light.
God
Yeah.
dang.
just
Yeah.
tell me how iconic that looks with the 3 prongs at the top there, like how iconic that looks. So
I have always wondered how
looks
hard
incredibly
that must be to hold with
Yeah.
the 3 prongs on the side. Like, is not a maybe a Sith lightsaber, not so much a Jedi one. Like, channel that pain, but like swinging that around in a fight might hurt a little.
it might, but you know, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna do the same thing here as I did with the Revan one, or the Revan, and there you go.
Sexy as hell.
So good.
Dude, it just feels good in the hand too, especially compared to the Black Series one. Like, I love Black Series. It's cool because it's like a cheaper one. This feels like this just feels right. I don't know how to describe it anyway, other than that.
It looks solid. like it looks beefy. It's awesome.
Yeah, and like same type of effects, blaster effects and whatnot. So honestly, this turned it back on. This and the Butcher, which is the other one I just opened up right there, might be 2 of the coolest sabers I have in my collection, if not the coolest.
That is bananas.
And that makes 3 sabers that I have gotten from them, and all of them have been fantastic. So I got these 2, the Dark Saber, and I cannot recommend these enough.
Wow.
Let me go actually
incredible.
pull up where you guys can see that one as well on their website. Cool. All right, there it is. And I could share this with you guys right now. And there you go. It's called The Reborn on SaberMaxLightsabers.com. And yes, so like in the last one, RGB,
awesome.
NeoPixel, Profi, it comes in all those. All the various different colors you can do. Let me just tell you straight up, I absolutely cannot wait to get out there and take some cosplay photos now that I got these 2, because this really wraps up everything. I got the whole cosplay built.
Nice.
Gonna be actually premiering the cosplay at Southern Alabama Comic-Con in Mobile.
Nice.
In September
Very cool.
this year.
The jewel of the South.
So something like that. It's the South.
That's awesome. My brain is like, I'm really thinking hard about, like, that's his Jedi saber, but the design is like so interesting. It's almost like it's designed so, like, if you draw it, you are going to pay a penance for unsheathing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is cool.
I like that.
Yeah. No, she'll be happy to know we got a comment that said, if you're a first fan, that you would be a great cast for a live action clone trooper without a helmet. That Samura is aged out. So that was from Grim, who's actually a good friend of mine. But if you need any of us to put, do a write-in or like buy a billboard.
Thanks, man. I actually reached out to. So I'm very new to the con circuit. When Varco Gray was originally released, some amazing gentlemen repping first, including Walter Vonger, who does like a lot of like the suit builds and stuff, reached out about making me a custom Varco suit. And as we got to know each other better, and I told them about losing my son, and I'd wanted to do, the only way I can think to like really honor my son, the promise I made to him was like, I'm going to try to, I didn't get to show you in real life like how to be a good man, so I'm going to try to live that by example, and just know that you'll watch me from wherever you are.
Sounds like you certainly are. Yeah.
I'm trying my best, and some days are better than others. But one of the things I really wanted to do was, I'm not going to take this into too dark a place, but like one of the things I wanted to do was try to find a charity that will help families who have like children who are either sick and in the hospital or need especially mental health support if they've lost a child. There's such a stigma around that, like we lost our son in what's technically considered a stillbirth, but like stillbirth, miscarriage, it doesn't matter. Like, you're losing a child, and it's funny, like people have a real hard time talking about it, and especially guys. So one of the things I thought about doing was trying to see if I could like enlist the 500 first to help me with some charity outreach, and they actually like even went to such lengths as like creating like what that patch would look like for him and stuff. Like it's
that's awesome.
The 500 first has been really amazing to me. So now that I'm doing cons, I'm trying anywhere I go, like I'm doing Rebel Scum in Dallas, I think, and so I just reached out to them and I was like, hey, like I'm gonna be there. So if there's something I can do to support you guys, be it like either signing stuff that you can raffle off for charities, or if you guys are actually doing something that I'll fly in early and be a part of, anything I can do to help. And everyone's been super welcoming and super cool. So Star Wars doing good things out there, which I love,
definitely.
Hell yeah, man. Well, just to, before we get into your guys' Collector's Corners, just to share a little something from our guys over at SaberMax. They got a big summer thing coming up. If I can use my damn mouse to pull it up, that is. It's one of those wireless ones. It gets a little weird occasionally. Not quite, but they do got a big summer sale coming up right now. It's going to start.
You can't even eat.
Dad's on the grill, boys. But anyways, so they're going to be doing 15% off all orders. They are going to have more specials going on with like extreme percentages knocked off of certain sabers. I'm going to have that information out probably next week for all of you guys who might be interested in getting something like that. But if you're interested in getting something right now, potentially, you can go on their website, use code the Dadalorian for 10% off of your order, and tell the guys I sent you, and tell them I love them very much for sending me those sabers.
Man, they're gorgeous.
They're awesome.
Absolutely.
I think, Ant, yours is far more connected to tonight, so maybe I'll go first and you can close this out.
You said you want to go first? Sorry.
Yeah, because yours is far more connected. You're the big finish. You're the boss level.
Cool.
So mine is this little Clone Wars Obi-Wan from a couple of years ago. I think the best head sculpt they've done on a.
It is a great looking sculpt.
I don't know why they don't just use this head sculpt on all the Obi-Wan figures and we wouldn't have to deal with anything. But yeah, it's just a really cool. It's the original clone body, so not the most articulated, but just a really cool figure. And this is such a cool series that, like, if nobody's ever watched the Gennady Tartakovsky Clone Wars, it's really awesome. But
That's so good.
This is like one of my all-time favorites. I just really enjoy it. It's actually one my mom got me when I started collecting. I was on the phone with her, and she happened to be in Walgreens, and this was a hard figure to find. And I was like, well, if you're at Walgreens, can you see if they have this action figure? And they had one Star Wars toy in the store, and it was this. And it was going for like $80 online, and I got it when these were $18.99 or like $20.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just a really cool figure.
That's a gorgeous model.
Yeah, and it's really like it's a really good like on the shelf display piece. Again, articulation not the world's best, but it means a lot to me. And soft goods, which we going to. Yeah, no, it's a really nice soft goods figure. One of my friends actually has a custom on the new clone body, but he used all the relevant parts on this, and it looks great. I'm just not brave enough to boil it.
Yeah, crafting on the head is insane.
I don't have that one, but that sculpt looks really good.
Yeah.
Having the new Clone Commander Obi-Wan, I also think that for the Obi-Wans that I do have, that one is the best sculpt. Yeah, it's real nice.
I'll call that a shout out to my mom, my wife, and aunt because it's their favorite character.
Nice.
Yay!
And no to my loves.
Here's the thing. When I have my favorite characters, it's like when I'm at Disney. Like whatever ride I'm riding in that moment, that's my favorite ride. And like you asked me, what's your favorite ride? It's freaking Space Mountain.
This one.
And then we get off Space Mountain, and Pirates is my next favorite. So it just depends, whatever's kind of relevant is ultimately going to kind of dictate what I'm into and kind of who's my favorite at that time. So like if I'm really excited about something, like odds are I'm going to kind of favor that person. Like this morning.
Yeah.
So when I typically try to take a couple figures with me to work. And if I have time on lunch, I'll take a picture out in the woods. I like to do nature photography. So I'll go out on a trail or whatever and just find a little spot. It doesn't need to be like some deep off in the woods, trek. It can literally be a patch of grass, 20 feet off the trail or something. But so this morning I just happened to bring Cal along, and I'm like, was that subliminal? Because, we're talking about Bode tonight and whatnot. The thing about photography too that I want to mention to you specifically, Nosh, is that one thing I love about this, and one reason I, even prior to all this coming up and meeting you and realizing what a wonderful human you are, and the amazing story you've come up with that we didn't know about Bode. So that adds a whole new layer to it. But what I really love to do is use it as a way to continue stories that don't get told on the screen. And that's my opportunity as a artist, if you will, to share with others my interpretation of it. So for that reason, I'm pumped, and I want them to make a Bode figure so badly, so that way, because he will be a good guy. I tell you,
well, Halverner chimed in on that too. So,
well,
make
anyways,
it so. Make it so.
But so anyway, am I doing my collector's corner? I think.
yes, you are.
I got off on a little tangent there. So my collector's corner is one of my favorite characters to work with, and a little tough. Sometimes I forget about him, but not today. I didn't. Thanks to Matt. Just kidding. Collector's corner here. You guys might recognize Vice Admiral Rampart.
That is the action figure we have of him.
He really does cut a dashing figure, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I love it.
He does,
I love
So
it.
he can look. That's an intimidating pose right there.
I love it.
We can make him look intimidating.
Now you've got to
a lot of
dedicate
my
a photo
Imperial
for
officers. A lot of my Imperial officer figures, this Vice Admiral Rampart included, for the most part, I always keep them in the same pose, no matter what picture I
That's
have
the pose
them in.
I do too.
I don't know why. Or it's one of two.
Yep.
This is one of them.
Yeah, those are the
Classic.
two poses. Yeah,
The look of
Standard
superiority.
yeah.
Or the old classic, look down my blaster.
Other arm still
But
bent,
really-
though.
I mean, and also too, this figure came with
Oh, I know.
a
Yeah.
little mouse droid.
It's like the only one that came with a mouse droid, I think, right? Like that's your
think
shot.
so.
Tarkin
Oh.
did too.
Tarkin came with the torture droid.
Yeah,
Well, that
I
makes
think
a
the
lot of
only one,
sense.
too.
the only other one that had a mouse droid, I think, was one of those holiday ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I know I have two normal mouse droids. Where I got my second one, I cannot remember.
You got two.
But I've got a
They're
fun
breeding.
one with the holiday droid. Mouse droids did a picture that's gonna, spoiler alert, it's a Christmas in July type shot. So I'll have that coming.
Excellent.
But yeah, no, that Rampart figure's awesome, and now I have to take more pictures with him. So he's gonna stay off the shelf because that's where the wheels start turning.
Nice. Nice.
All right, well, not to weird you out or nothing, Nosh, but you got three guys here who all have an action figure of you. So nothing.
My sister-in-law
for the
actually gave
mouse
me one
droid.
for Christmas, so
Well, but it's not the one with the face where you can saw. I guess I'm just gonna mimic your voice whenever I look at it.
I
to feel
love
like
it.
You're in the room.
I love it.
One of a kind. Anyways, Matt, everybody, thank you for sharing all your stuff today. It's been an absolute blast. And it does wrap up the show for today. But first, I want to say a huge thank you to Noshir for joining us, man. And I gotta say, you'll always be a member of the Sith Happens family. You're always welcome to come hang out and have a good time. And I just want to give you the floor for a couple minutes, actually. Just see if there's anything you want to share with any listeners, viewers that might be on with us.
Well, I think we're living in a really difficult time right now. There's two adages. One, Eric, you and I already talked about. Nothing is as strong as gentleness, and nothing is as gentle as true strength. And the other one is, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. And I think now more than ever, we need to take a page out of Andor's book. We need to be actively trying to be a force for good, because simply wanting to be good or not doing bad things in this current environment is not enough. There are people out there that need our help, and we're getting closer and closer to stormtroopers every day.
Yeah.
Hopefully we all have a social responsibility to try to be Jedi when we can.
Yep.
So I guess all I'll ask is, if you can, go out there and have the courage to be a force for good. And that doesn't need to mean, putting yourself at risk. A bit of kindness every day goes a long, long way.
Thank you. Small acts
Absolutely
of
beautifully said.
bravery. Small act of bravery lead to a rebellion. You know.
That's right.
Hell yeah, man. Once again, man, thank you so much for coming on the show today. For everybody who might be listening in or watching right now, we appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us today. You guys can check out our socials. Go to Sith Happens _ Star Wars podcast on Instagram, and on there you will find the link tree, which has a link to all of our various streaming platforms. That includes YouTube's, Spotify, and Amazon Music. We appreciate if you guys could give us a follow on there and check out all of our other socials, such as Facebook and whatnot. And I am going to go ahead and kick it over to Ant. You got any final words of wisdom for us?
Words of wisdom. I would say, you said it well, Nosh. So I'll back you up 100% on your statement. And yeah, I couldn't agree more, honestly. Especially now, like, just be nice, be genuine. Just that's how the world becomes a better place. Do the next right thing. So. With that, I mean, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, Nosh, and having you on the show. And hopefully maybe one day again, we can have you on here and
I'd love that.
Chat some more. So thanks for joining.
Cool. And I'll just say genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you for sharing such insightful, truthful, important parts of your life. Star Wars means so much to so many people. And hearing someone like you who's able to, bond, even with us over the cast and with the listeners, I couldn't appreciate you more for that and making this already was going to be a special show, but a truly special show. And don't think I could say it any better than your adages, but what I will give you is this. And we will
well played.
I'm so grateful to you guys, man. You guys are awesome, and I love what you guys are doing. I love the positivity that you bring to things. Yeah, man, I can't wait to see what adventures you guys go on next, and hopefully in the near future I'll be able to come by and I'll have more stories to share. So we'll see what happens.
I want you for the what if episode. We'll figure that out. I'm trying to put you on the spot live.
Your brain.
All right. Well, to kind of just follow up on Nosh's ideas, I'll just leave everybody with this. The day will come when all these skirmishes, battles, these moments of defiance will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this. Try. I'm Eric the Dadalorian. Thank you for joining us. This is the way.